Hey guys, welcome back to the MCU HQ, and this is my review of What If Episode 7, titled What If Thor Was an Only Child? Because in this universe, Odin did not steal children. This is the Party Thor episode. This is the one where Thor comes down to Earth and just has this massive party. And he looks a lot like Prince Charming. In my humble opinion, this was a weak episode. I don't know, I wasn't sold on the idea from the beginning. And so what this is, it's a super lighthearted episode, which I will say it was smart of them to put it here. If they had put this episode at the beginning, that would not have been a good play. But they put it here after I've been sold on the show. I mean, the episodes before this were Hank Pym killing the Avengers, Doctor Strange destroying a universe, zombies, and then Killmonger killing Tony Stark and T'Challa to take over Wakanda. So, some heavy episodes before this, and this is more of a lighthearted one that I can tell they wanted to put here before 8 and 9, because, like, those two are probably going to be big, epic episodes. Especially 9, which is the giant crossover. But my issue is that I feel like there was nothing in this episode. It seemed it didn't have anything in terms of a larger plot. The episode was literally just Thor having a party on Earth and S.H.I.E.L.D. being pissed about it. That was it. There wasn't really ever any big villain. There were never really any stakes, because you're watching the episode and I kind of knew the whole time that everything would work out fine. There was a kind of cool fight halfway through, I will say, between Thor and one other character. I'm not going to say who it is, although the Disney Plus banner for the episode does kind of spoil it, but I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. That was a cool fight, but I feel like in the future when this show's over and we're rewatching it, people will either skip this one or they'll just be like, oh, it's the Thor episode. It was just a bunch of different cameos the whole time. It was basically just a cameo fest. But hey, they got Natalie Portman back for Jane Foster, which is something I did not think they were doing. I mean, they got her back for live action. I didn't think they would get her back to voice her for one episode of this show. And so the character of Thor in this episode, I don't want to get into spoiler territory, but the way they treated him was interesting, because this is a Thor who has been raised as an only child, right? This is a Thor who was never banished to Earth and became more humble. This is a Thor who's kind of been this whiny, arrogant brat his whole life. And he's like 15 in this. Like, there's this one scene where he's talking with his mom, and he's like, I'm in my room, I'm studying, Mom. Now, there were 4 things in this episode that just really confused me. And I just sat there like that. What? And it's not like a thing that I didn't understand. It's things that don't make sense with the rest of MCU continuity that bothered me a lot. But yeah, so it feels like there's no real big conflict in this episode. It doesn't feel like there's ever a villain in this episode, or someone that, like, it doesn't feel like there's much of an antagonist. It just kind of seems like people just doing things and people being pissed about people doing things. I feel like there's no sense of consequence, no sense of stakes or dread, and I didn't even realize until after these last few episodes just how much the show kind of needs to embrace those darker aspects. I think that's where this show works. So yeah, I'm disappointed in this episode. I'm sad that I was, because the last 4 episodes were really good in my opinion. So it kind of dropped off here. I get why they wanted to put it here though, because it's a nice little fun break from the big epic universal scale storylines, but I just don't think it ended up working out. I was not a fan of it. That's all I have for non-spoilers, so I'm going to get into spoilers now, some things I want to talk about. If you haven't seen the episode, go watch the episode. If you don't care, watch this, because I'm not going to stop you. First confusing thing I want to address, I'll kind of address them as they come up chronologically, but the episode starts with some flashbacks. So it's talking about Thor does not have Loki, and it's watchers kind of giving a PowerPoint presentation of Thor and Loki's childhood, and there's a part where Loki, they're little, and he shoots Thor with the casket of Ancient Winters to freeze him, and Loki's just laughing the whole time. Loki should have turned blue then, and he should have known he was a frost giant. But that's the second time this show that the writers have forgotten that Loki turns blue when he uses the Casket of Ancient Winters. So, okay, that's one. I'm willing to get past it. I'm not willing to get past it. It bothers me. Marvel keeps forgetting that Loki's a frost giant. Okay, so Odin goes into the Odin sleep at the start, and Frigga immediately dips. She's like, Thor, go study to be a king. I'm gonna go hang with my girls. So she leaves. I don't even know where she went. Somewhere off-world. And so Thor immediately goes to Earth, and he tells the Warriors 3 and Sif, he's like, oh, Heimdall will never see us on Earth. So that brings me a confusing thing number 2, because as we've seen from all 3 Thor movies, Heimdall can see people on Earth. So he should have known that Thor was on Earth. And Jane should not have had to send out a call to Heimdall. He should have just known that Thor was having a party on Earth. So, yeah, so Thor throws this party, and I gotta say, Thor made universal peace with this party. There was no conflict. Surtur, Thor's enemy, man destined to destroy Asgard, is just hanging at this party. Aisha from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is at this party. Ego let Mantis go to this party, right? You got Korg is at the party, the Grand Master's at the party. Everyone is at this party. Skrulls are at this party. Everyone's just kind of chilling out, having a great time. Thor made peace with the universe through this party. And in terms of cameos, Howard the Duck makes another cameo, and he marries Darcy. So Howard the Duck has been getting it done since 1986. For anyone who doesn't understand that joke, that's because in the 1986 movie, there's a make-out scene with a human and Howard the Duck. Yeah, that happened. That's the first movie Marvel ever made. George Lucas produced it. Yeah. And there's one more cameo. Frost giants come in, and King Loki. Loki is now the king of the Frost giants. Him and Thor are tight. They're brothers from another mother, as he said. I did like the Loki stuff. I think that was fun. I really liked when he was talking on the phone. He dropped the phone and it broke because he's super tall, so it fell a ways, and he was holding it like this, talking into it. So, Nick Fury gets hurt at this party, which made me laugh. This was so funny. He was at the party saying he needed to talk to Thor because Thor didn't have jurisdiction there or something, and Korg saw a fountain that he wanted to swim in, so he threw Fury out of the way to jump in it, and it knocked Fury out. So Hill's acting director, she calls Captain Marvel to fight Thor, and so they are fighting all over the place, and Thor decides he's going to knock down Stonehenge, because why not? So they get back to the party, and here's confusing thing number 3. Thor puts Mjolnir on Captain Marvel so that way she can't move. But, in this universe, the first time that Thor goes to Earth, they make it pretty clear that it's in this episode for this party, when he goes to the party. Which means he was never banished, which means Odin never put the curse on Mjolnir. Which means anyone can hold Mjolnir at the moment. Which means that putting on Captain Marvel to hold her down wouldn't work. So why does it work? Because it shouldn't. God, were the writers like on the X-Men Fox continuity team when they wrote this episode? Keep in mind, these are the same people who remembered to cast Shuri as someone younger because Shuri would be a kid at the time of Iron Man. So they kind of know their stuff. Captain Marvel comes back. Thor's gonna slide down the Sydney Opera House, and Captain Marvel just goes bam and takes him to the mountains, just kind of all deserted, and the plan is to get a nuke and nuke Thor. And so when this is about to happen, Jane goes to Heimdall to tell him Thor's on Earth, something he should have known. She then goes to Frigga, who then comes who then kind of sends a message to Thor, getting all mad at him, telling him he's supposed to be in his room studying because Thor's 15 in this show for some reason. Not even that, he's like 12. And so then she's like, hey, I'm Bifrosted over there. And so Thor summons the power of the Allfathers to command everyone who is at this party to help him clean up. And they wreck Earth. I mean, Stonehenge is knocked over. Surtur accidentally melts the arm of the Statue of Liberty off. They take the St. Louis Arch and they lift it out of the ground. Basically, anything and everything they can mess with, they mess with, right? Now, in the time that it takes the Bifrost to get from Asgard to Earth, which, as we know, is seconds. This is confusing thing number 4, by the way. In the time it takes Frigga to get from Asgard to Earth, Thor and his friends managed to clean up everything. The Bifrost only takes a few seconds, by the way. This is something we know because we've seen it multiple times. Yeah, so they fix everything and they basically play it off as Thor was studying the whole time. And that ends with him going to Jane's van. And he's like, you told my mom on me. So anyway, he asks her out on a date, and he says he knows a planet that is full of unicorns. It's all unicorns. And so Jane's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So Thor's gonna walk away, and then this portal opens, and a bunch of Ultrons come through, and the one in the back is if Ultron successfully got into Vision's body. So it's Vision with an Ultron armor and all 6 Infinity Stones. Which is awesome, and luckily this is not a one-time cliffhanger like the other episodes. This is the main villain of the show. The final boss of this show, the guy they're all gonna come together to fight, is this guy. So they finally teased that. Yeah, so that's all I have for spoilers and non-spoiler for that matter. So those are my full thoughts on What If Episode 7, What If Thor Was an Only Child. Just in case you couldn't tell, wasn't a big fan of this episode. There are 2 episodes left of this show, and I'm guessing that it'll be next episode is the Gamora Thanos episode probably, where Gamora is like Thanos, and then 9 is the giant crossover with Ultron. So that's what I'm pretty sure the rest of the show's gonna be. And I hope the last episode's like an hour. If they're doing a giant crossover, I want it to be a longer episode. But, so what did you guys think of What If Episode 7? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Also, leave a like on this video, subscribe, click on the bell icon to receive all notifications from the MCU HQ. That's going to be it. Have a great day, guys.